their computer. But anyway, so as I said, my name is Kimberly Connell. I'm the Caregiver Services and Support Specialist with Onondaga County Office for Aging and Long-Term Care Services. And many years ago, Caregiver Services with the county established the Institute for Caregivers classes, or the iCare classes, to provide free education and training on a variety of topics. Every spring and every fall, we do it. And this is the final class for our fall semester, but we will be offering new classes in spring of 2022. So if you registered for this class, you should be receiving information about future classes. And of course, you can always opt out, just reach out to me. But tonight, I'd like to welcome you all to the Institute for Caregivers, Assistive Technologies and Supports for Caregivers with Sight and Hearing Limitations. This class is really for seniors coping with vision or hearing loss, the fear of losing their independence and relying on others to assist with their daily living skills can bring on both hopelessness and depression. So there's lots of different technologies and devices out there that would be able to help with that. And to present this series, Caregiver Services was really pleased to be able to partner with Aurora of Central New York. And although I'm sure our presenter will tell you more about Aurora and their services, their mission tells a lot about them. Aurora's mission is to promote independence, opportunity, and full access for individuals of all ages with vision or hearing loss. So leading the class tonight will be David DeFrancis. David has a bachelor's degree from Lemoyne College and currently serves as the Director of Outreach and Education for Aurora of Central New York. For the past 21 years, David has specialized in services to seniors who are visually and hearing impaired and coordinates the hearing aid program, which he'll tell you about, for low-income seniors at Aurora. David is also the past recipient of Onondaga County's Senior Services Professional of the Year Award, yay David, for his dedicated service and is a sought-after presenter in the field of senior services. So just some housekeeping before I turn you over to David. Tonight, as you can see, we have an ALS interpreter. Thank you, Zena. And she will be with us for the event. We also have closed captioning available. I have turned it on to assist you. You can choose to show it on your computer using the dashboard at the bottom of your screen and choose to turn on the live transcript. You've all been muted upon entry, and then, as I said, later, if you would like to ask a question, feel free to unmute yourself. You can be on screen if you would like and interact with David. The class is also tonight being recorded and live streamed to YouTube, and it will be available on the Caregiver website page. And at the end of the class, a survey will pop up on your screen, and it would be nice if you could complete that. So it's really helpful to us if you do that. So without further ado, I'm going to turn you over to David. I hear an echo.
Hello, everybody. Welcome. We've got a lot of information. I'm going to try to get it to you within this hour period and answer as many of your questions as possible. I am, as Kimberly said, the Director of Outreach at Aurora of Central New York. If you are unfamiliar with Aurora, we have been around 104 years. We used to be the Lighthouse. And when we changed our mission to include those seniors and folks with hearing loss and deafness, we had to change our name to distinguish us from just helping those folks who are legally blind. We now help folks who are visually impaired before they hit legal blindness. We help them once they hit legal blindness. And we also help folks who are gradually losing their hearing and prepare them with the equipment and teach them some coping skills so that they can, have the least amount of problems accessing their community. Our mission, as she said, is to be to keep people independent, keep people out of nursing homes and assisted living centers. It won't be because of vision or hearing loss that these folks are put into these facilities. There is equipment out there that can help, and you'll be seeing a lot of that equipment tonight. Our services are free. Doesn't cost anybody any money to see or access our services. We're located at 1065 James Street in Syracuse. We do cover 3 counties. We cover all of Onondaga County, all of Oswego County, and all of Cayuga County, and a small portion of Cortland County. We work with folks of all ages. I specifically work with seniors, 55 and above, but I will see anyone of any age if they want to access our services and call and set up an appointment. Our referrals come from your ophthalmologists, your optometrists, your audiologists, the adult children of seniors who call, and seniors themselves can call and request an appointment. Most of the stuff that you're going to see tonight as far as equipment can be accessed through 2 companies. If you have a pen and pencil ready, or I'm sorry, a pen and paper, I'm going to give you the contact information for these 2 companies and the websites and their phone numbers. They will mail you free catalogs if you do call and ask them if you don't have access to a computer. And the first one,
Kimberly, I just wanted to say, I'll send that information out with the follow-up email after the classes as well, okay?
Okay. So do you want to put on there now, Kim?
Sure, you can put it on there now, and then I'll just follow up so they have it.
Okay, that sounds good. The first company that we deal with, and I've seen in 21 years, many catalog companies, and I like this company because anything you purchase from them, you have 30 days. If it doesn't work for you, or if you're not happy with it, all you do is pay the shipping to ship it back, and you get a full refund. So the first company is called MaxiAids. That's MaxiAids.com. And that has anything and everything you can imagine for folks with vision loss. From the backyard through every room in the house to the front yard. I mean, it has something for everything as far as equipment wise. They're ready to contact them if you want a free catalog. Is 1-800-522-6294. And they have a sister company called hearmore.com, and that's strictly for those with hearing loss. Same concept, all kinds of equipment that can be assistive to folks with vision loss. And with hearing loss. And their website is hearmore.com. Hearmore is one word, .com. And when you call MaxiAids, it's the same number. You can call them up and ask them for a free Hearmore catalog. So most of the, if not all of the equipment you see tonight is available at Aurora. And you can call, set up an appointment, or call me. You'll have that contact information, and I can always put it up front, or we can set up an appointment. So first, let's talk about some of the eye conditions and the eye diseases that are out there. The first one I want to talk about is really popular now. Many of our seniors, I see hundreds of new seniors every year that have age-related macular degeneration. This usually starts for folks later in life, 60s, 70s, 80s. It has 5 causes that cause macular degeneration. And when I meet folks, I go over those, and they usually fall in one or more of those causes. Macular degeneration takes away your central vision. So it's like putting your fingers and covering the middle of your eye in the front and obscuring your central vision. And this is caused first by number one cause is cigarettes. So if you smoke during your life, even if you've quit years ago, the damage could already be done. The second one is repeated exposure to the sun without sunglasses on. The third is genetic. If mom, dad, grandma, grandpa had it, there's a chance that you can get macular degeneration. High fatty diets, the fourth. And if you have a problem with blood pressure, if you have high blood pressure, even if it's controlled, it still could affect your vision and cause macular degeneration. There is no cure, unfortunately. at this point in time. They are working on it. There are all kinds of studies being done. But as at this point in time, there is no cure. Macular degeneration can either be wet or it can be dry. And what that means is they're both treated differently. If you have dry macular degeneration, there really isn't a lot you can do, but every senior that I know that has dry takes a vitamin for the eyes, whether it's Preservision is one of them, Ocuvite is another one, or eye caps with the letter I, not the word I, caps. Those three are the most popular because they have the AREDS formula, which can feed the eye the vitamins that you might not be getting through your diet. So with dry, you take the vitamins. With wet, you are most likely going to get an injection in the eyeball. And there's a steroid, there's 3 of them out there, Avastin, Eylea, and Lucentis. Those are the 3. They are steroids that they will inject into the eyeball, usually every 4 to 6 weeks with Eylea. And what that does is, with wet macular, there's fluid behind the eye, bleeding or blood behind the eye, and the steroid will force that fluid out, dry it up so that you don't lose more vision. If you don't get rid of that fluid, you could, go legally blind very quickly. The good news with macular degeneration is the odds are you will never go totally dark. You're not going to go blind, totally blind. Macular degeneration does not affect your peripheral vision, only your central vision. So you always have your side vision, and you'll just have to do things differently, look at things differently, maximizing that peripheral vision when you're reading. Most likely you will be using handheld magnifiers, or reader glasses, or things like that with macular degeneration. It's unfortunately, there's not much that we can do as far as helping folks learn how to read using their peripheral vision. We will sit with them, we will try to train them, but as human beings, we all know we want to look at everything straightforward. We don't want to have to turn our head. When these folks with macular look at a person straight on, if somebody walks up to them and says hi, if they look at them straight on, they'll see the shape of their face, they'll see their hair, but they will not see any details on their face. So a lot of times they won't be able to identify who you are if they don't recognize your voice. So that's basically just a quick explanation of macular degeneration. The second condition that we see a lot of, which is very prevalent in the African American and Latino community, is glaucoma. And glaucoma is a pressure disease. The good news about glaucoma is it's manageable. If you take the drops that you'll be prescribed by your eye doctor, you can manage glaucoma and keep your pressures under control. The one bad thing about glaucoma is there's no symptoms. You could wake up one day not knowing you even have glaucoma, and you could wake up blind. So if there's any familial history of glaucoma, it's really, really important that you get checked at least once a year to have those pressures checked so that that does not happen. The third one basically is, with glaucoma, it's like holding up 2 soda straws in front of your eyes and looking through 2 soda straws. Glaucoma takes the peripheral vision, where macular is opposite. That takes your central vision. The third one is another biggie. It's diabetic retinopathy. And with diabetic retinopathy, it is more of a circulatory condition. Too much sugar in the blood destroys the blood vessels in the eyes. So that can cause you to lose portions of your vision. Imagine taking a spaghetti strainer and holding it up in front of your face. That's what it's like to have diabetic retinopathy. Now, there is a lot of equipment out there for folks who have vision loss. And I'm going to go through some of it. I'm going to show you on the screen. Like I say, if you're interested in any of this equipment, or you have someone that would benefit from this type of equipment, you'll be given my contact information, and please feel free to call me and ask questions, or where you can get this, and I can go through it with you. The first one is very simple. Works wonderful, especially with macular degeneration, because with macular degeneration, you need light. Your maculas have one job. We all have two maculas, one behind each eye, and that's each one is about as big as the tip of this pen, very tiny. And the macula is covered with millions and millions of little cells. And what those cells do through our whole life is they absorb light so we can read. And with macular degeneration, those cells start to flake off and die little by little. So that dark spot in the middle of your eye forms and gets gradually larger and larger as time goes by. So if you can't absorb light, or if your maculas can't absorb light as well anymore, you need to provide an artificial source of light. And many times it makes a huge difference for folks, and they are able to even read small print again with the right lighting. And the first thing that we're going to look at is real simple. It's a gooseneck tabletop lamp. You can find these, they're cheap. You can get them at Staples, you can get them at yard sales, and they work extremely well if you put it on a table where you read your mail or you read your newspaper. And you'll notice that there's an incandescent bulb in here. Same type of bulb we've been using for years. And reason being, we don't want to use any CPL bulbs, which are those bulbs that gradually get brighter. And we don't want to use ever any of those curly energy saving bulbs in your reading lamp. Those bulbs are fine anywhere else in the home, but for reading, they're of very little help. And the reason that is because in order to make these bulbs last longer, they have to reduce the lumens. And that's exactly what someone with macular degeneration needs, is the lumens. So they're not very helpful at all. And they're actually not really helpful for someone who has, who doesn't have an issue with their vision. I prefer either an LED type light. LED is great. The incandescent bulb is good. If you are going to get a tabletop lamp and you're going to get a bulb, the brand name in the grocery stores and in Walmart is called Reveal. They're Reveal bulbs, and you want a 60-watt bulb for a tabletop gooseneck lamp. Nothing stronger. 60 watt is fine. If you tend to sit in a recliner to read and use a lamp that comes over your shoulder, then you want to use 100 watt, because it is farther away from you and from what you're reading. So 60 and 100 are the only 2 watts you really have to remember. And if you are sitting in a recliner and using a floor length lamp, remember, always have the lamp coming over the shoulder of the better eye, not the worst eye. You want to aid the good eye, the better eye, because that's most likely doing most of the work, and that puts a lot of strain on the eye. So that's the first item, is the gooseneck lamp. Kind of an easy fix. The second thing is, if you go out to the store, if they go to a restaurant and try to read their own menu, obviously they're not going to take a lamp, but there is handheld magnifiers that are lit that work very, very well and would benefit them. And those look like, this is an example of a lighted magnifier. And as you can tell, if you can tell with the flash, it's very, very bright. It's an LED light. It runs on 3 AAA batteries right in the handle. Runs about $45 and portable. They can take it to the grocery store. They can read the prices. They can hold it up to the thermostat to see the temperature. It'll help them with their washer dryer settings, setting their oven to 350 degrees. These are things that people with macular or any type of vision loss really struggle with. And this is wonderful. And unfortunately, you can't get these in the store. These can be ordered through the catalog, or we do have them at Aurora. And what you'll notice is, many people, the first question they say to me is, David, I want a big magnifier so I can read the whole article at one time. Well, unfortunately, they do exist, and I'm going to show you. These are called sheet magnifiers. You may have seen them before. The problem is they do not work well. When you take the magnification and you spread it out over something this large, like the sheet, it weakens. There's no strength to it anymore. So you'll notice if you have one of these, unfortunately, it's not going to be much help. And also you'll see that when you do spread out the magnification, there's all types of swirls on this piece of plastic. So I have not had any luck, and I tell seniors not to waste their money on a sheet magnifier. It's better off. They'll just have to learn that they're going to have to read differently. And you know, this magnifier, as you can tell, is larger and rectangular. And this is a 3.5x. These go all the way up. I mean, you can get one at a 10, 12, 12x, but then the glass is going to get smaller. It's physics. The bigger the glass, the weaker the magnifier. So that's the way to think about it if you are out looking for a magnifier. I've seen many folks that purchase the big round magnifier with a light that's attached on a spring, and depending on their degree of vision loss, that may be not very helpful. So as we go up in strength, the glass will get smaller. When you get up to a 10x, the glass is about the size of a nickel. So you will read 1 or 2 letters at a time, but that usually you don't get to that point until you hit legal blindness. And legal blindness, as we know, is 2200, acuity of 2200 or worse, 2300, 2400, 20/20 being perfect vision, and 2200 or worse being legal blindness. It must be in both eyes with correction. That means when you go to see the eye doctor and he asks you to read the eye chart, like the one behind me, if the only letter that you can see on that eye chart with your glasses on is the big E with both eyes, then you will be declared by your ophthalmologist as legally blind. And in that situation, the ophthalmologist is required to report to DMV, okay? And one of two things will happen. Either DMV, unfortunately, will take the license, or the doctor, the ophthalmologist, has the option to give you a letter to take to DMV stating, I feel that this person would be safe enough to drive 5 miles from their home and back, and during the day hours only. So that'll get them to a pharmacy, a grocery store, things like that. So I tell folks, you know, don't get so upset until you talk to your ophthalmologist, because he does have that option to give you that restricted license. The second thing that happens once you're declared legally blind is once you're registered by the doctor with the state, you're entitled to a $3,000 tax every year for the rest of your life. So that's a benefit of that situation. And also, unfortunately, if you want equipment and you're only visually impaired, say you have one bad eye and the other eye, you're not considered legally blind. So there's no commission, there's no agency that pays for your equipment, unfortunately, until you're declared legally blind. Then your eye doctor will refer you to Aurora. They all know who we are. And a intake worker will come to the home, or you can come to the office, and she will make a list of all the equipment you need, whether it be any of the rest of the stuff I'm going to show you tonight, lamps, magnifiers, talking watches, talking prescription holders, all kinds of things will be paid for by the state up to about $400. And a rehab teacher will bring that equipment out to you, will show you how to use it. And once they feel comfortable that you're comfortable with the equipment, they will close your case. And 2 years from that date of closure, you can be reopened for another $200 or $400 worth of equipment every 2 years. You can be opened earlier within those 2 years if you move, or if you have a significant change in your vision. Then you can be reopened before that 2-year period. So unlike with hearing loss, where there is different financial streams to help, with vision loss, before you hit legal blindness, there's not. Now, That doesn't mean that we don't have equipment here that's been donated. We have a whole room of donated equipment. If there's equipment in there that is appropriate for you, that works for you, of course, you will be provided with that equipment at no charge. It'll just an option for you if there's equipment that you're going without because you can't afford it. Some of the other great things that we have that can help are, this is called the MagnaBright, okay? This is another magnifier, okay? This magnifier is really good for those folks with glaucoma who have lost their peripheral vision, or for those folks who have Parkinson's or tremors. They can't hold a magnifier because of the tremors. This magnifier sits on the paper, you look down into it, and you slide it as you're reading, okay? And it spreads things out. So where you might have missed out with your peripheral vision, you'll be able to catch those words and where the sentences start and end using a magnifier like this. You're talking about $38. This magnifier comes in two sizes. The large size, you would use this for extended reading, newspaper reading, anything that you're going to be book reading. But it also comes in a smaller size, same strength, 4X, that you can take with you wherever you go to read prices and things like that. It does not have a light, so you may need to get a lamp that'll work with this, or have a really, really good lighting in the room that you want to use it in. Now, I get a lot of questions about, what about television? Can't see the television. Well, here's the situation with TVs. I tell them, get the largest TV you can get. And if you're going to get a TV, go into the store. All these big box stores have the televisions on and set up. And they all have, they all different. So I tell them to find the one that's clearest for them and to go with that. Also, I tell them that they can sit as close to the TV as they want. It's not going to hurt their vision. That was a myth when we were kids. So if they need to sit closer to the TV, that's fine. They can do that. But these are for television. These here, and they look kind of like something out of Star Trek, but these are for TV watching. And with these, they have, it's like a pair of binoculars. It has a little wheel on each lens moves independently because everybody's eyes aren't all the same. And it will, when you put these on, it'll bring something farther away from you right up in front of you. So this works really, really well for folks. Now it's more expensive. You're talking close to $100, but that's one of the options. They also have a pair of these similar that can be used for computers, for computer reading. So those are great. And there are a whole bunch of other different types of options for magnification that from cctvs, which is another device, looks like a computer, has a tray, has a computer screen, flat screen, would sit on a table or a desk, and has a tray that you could put whatever you want to read on that tray, turn a button on the screen, and you can make everything as big as you want that's on that paper or whatever you're looking at. Wonderful for photographs. You can make the faces as big as you want. You can turn it from an 8-point, which is the same size as newspaper print, all the way up to a 20-point, 25-point, which is huge. So those are not cheap. Those do run probably about $4,000, and used, you can get them for $2,000. But for those folks who are legally blind, or for those folks that handheld magnifiers are just too much of a struggle, not working, then we do loan them out. We do get them loaned back to us, and we do loan them out to the community. You would have to call and talk to Angela. She's the intake worker for Legal Blind Services here at Aurora. So those are some options as far as magnification. I'll tell you that I've had many, many seniors in here who haven't read in a long time. And one of these magnifiers, I found one for all of them that can help them read newspaper print, size print, prescription bottle print again, which is really important because many of them rely on their family, they rely on their neighbors, they rely on strangers to read for them, and we want them to be independent. We want them to be able to do that themselves. So with these eye conditions, another main thing that they struggle with is writing their checks. With macular degeneration, you will notice that people will write uphill or they will write downhill. They're not able to write straight on a line, so they have extreme difficulty filling out their checks to pay their bills, or writing a letter, or addressing an envelope is extremely difficult. So they either have to rely on someone else to do it, family members or things like that. We don't want that. So there are very cheap fixes, couple dollars. You got this, it's called the check guide. Lay it on the check and you write within the lines. It keeps you right within the lines, keeps it neat, legible. But there's another option. Go to their bank, ask for large print checks. They have nice large print checks. They're still legal tender, and they have black bold lines. And I think they charge the same as they would for if you went in to order another book of checks, because most of our seniors, or many of our seniors, don't pay their bills online. They're definitely still writing checks. This is an envelope guide. This is how they can address an envelope if they want to continue to write letters and keep in contact with family and friends. This goes over a piece of loose leaf paper and write a letter. It works really well. And these are all very inexpensive, a couple dollars, but they make a huge difference as far as helping folks stay independent. Watches. A lot of folks with vision loss can no longer read a watch. Way too difficult. So in that situation, we have what's called a talking watch. I don't know if you can hear that, but you just push a button. It tells you what time it is. It's got a nice white background, bold numbered face. Works very, very well. They have men and women's watches, and you're talking more of like $35, $40 for one of these watches. Now we have also another cheap fix. These look red bump dots. They're raised dots, and you peel one off individually, and you stick it wherever someone can't, read the numbers on a microwave. You can put one of these little dots on the start button. They can feel that bump dot where the start button is. Some people put them on their remote controls because they can't hit the right button to turn off the power on the TV. And these can be put on a washer and dryer. Just stick it where the setting is and stick another one on top of the knob, and you line up the two bumps, and they can feel what setting that they want it at. Thermostats, everything you can imagine. And it's a couple dollar fix and works really, really well. Another option besides these is called fabric paint. Fabric paint can be purchased at any craft store. It's just a small little bottle, and you squeeze it on a little dab. Just put a little dab on whatever you want to mark, let it dry, and when it dries, it bubbles up hard. So again, same thing. They'll be able to feel where that is. It's not permanent. You can scrape it off. It's not going to damage anything. You can also take that paint and draw around a keyhole, okay, so that they know where to put their key in. If they want to unlock a door, you can outline around an electrical outlet. So when they have, most people with vision loss have trouble finding out plugging something in. And with this, they can feel right where that goes and plug it in. That's another really cheap fix. I suggest if you do go with fabric paint, you go with a bright orange. That color seems to work really, really well. So for marking things, those two things work excellent. Now, another thing is, how do people with vision loss or even totally blind people know when their coffee cup's full or when their juice glass is full? Well, most of the time they put their finger in it. We don't want that. That could be very, very dangerous. And so there's a little device called a Say Stop that hangs on the edge of the glass, water glass or coffee glass. And once the glass is full, it vibrates so they can feel that. Okay. There's another model that plays music once the cup or glass is full. It's another cheap fix. We're talking $8, $9, but believe me, it keeps them from burning their fingers and really simple to use. So that's called the Say Stop. Another big thing a lot of my clients ask me is, I want to keep doing what I enjoy. I used to sew. I can't thread a needle now to save my life. And in those situations, this is a needle threader, okay? And this can be used by folks who are totally blind. They'll be able to thread a needle. Works really, really well with large needles or with smaller needles. It has two little chimneys. You lay the thread next to it, drop the needle in, push the slide, and it threads the needle for you. Really, really inexpensive, but can make a huge difference for folks who have stopped doing the things that they love because they can't with their vision. So that is an Enfila needle threader. One big thing that's really important, because as I said earlier, one of the main causes, the ozone layer, the holes in the ozone are much larger than years ago, and much more harmful rays are coming through. So it's really important. You'll notice even the younger kids now are wearing wraparound sunglasses that cover both their peripheral and central vision. It's real important for folks with macular degeneration and glaucoma and diabetic retinopathy, all of us actually, to be wearing glare protection sunglasses when we're out in the sun to protect our vision from those harmful rays, especially those folks with light-colored irises. You know, those folks with blue, green, or hazel eyes, you have no protection. Those harmful rays go right through that light-colored cones and rods that make up your iris and hit your macula. And in that situation, it can do a lot of damage. So please make sure you got your eyes protected whenever you're experiencing. Doesn't have to be sunny out. Can be overcast. Whenever you experience glare, get yourself a pair of sunglasses that are glare resistant. If you are a senior and had your cataracts removed, and you were given a pair of dark sunglasses after the surgery, throw them away. Those were not supposed to be saved. Those were only supposed to be worn until the eye heals. They are way too dark for somebody with macular degeneration. If you think about it, why would you put dark lenses over dark spots in the middle of your eye? You have a chance of stepping off a curb and falling. It would be hard to judge steps, and you could get hurt. So definitely, if you have those dark sunglasses, throw those away and get yourself either a light amber, which is a great color. Light amber wraparounds work really, really well. We do have those at Aurora. You can also find those at one of the catalog companies I showed you. Those wraparound noir or cocoon sunglasses work really well and will give you the protection that you need. There are other things like large print calendars. We have calendars that are real big with big bold letters, lots of space in each square to put doctor appointments or any other appointment reminders. We have those in for 2022 now, and they run you about $10. You are able to hang them on a wall. They are hole punched in them, or you can put them on a desk, whatever you need. If you are going to write on a calendar, if you are going to write notes and you have vision loss or make lists, get yourself a 2020 Sharpie medium point marker, black. All right, you can find those at many stores, Walmart, Staples, all those places. But a 2020 Sharpie medium point black works really well. Just 1 second. I'm doing a class. Online. You could log out, or we can just remember. I know. Sorry about that. A little noise out in the hallway. So we do have the large print calendars that can help them just use the 2020 Sharpie. Now, what about social events? What about interacting? A lot of these times, folks with vision loss are left out. Especially folks that live in congregate buildings. They have bingo and they have all these other events. They play cards. But for seniors with vision loss, they can't participate. They can't see a bingo card. So, simple fix. There's large print bingo cards so that these folks can still participate in various events, and large print playing cards. Okay, these are normal size. They're not the huge cards, and it'll keep them active in the community, active with their friends. Plus, it'll keep the brain active. It gives them something to do. So there are all types of things. There's dominoes, large dominoes. There's all kinds of Scrabble games that you have the large print tiles and things that work really well. So that's another option. All right. Now, when it comes to the medical side, one of the real difficulties people with vision loss is, especially diabetics, is loading a syringe because the print is so small. And in those cases, there's something called a Magna Guide. And with this, it's a little device that fits over the syringe, and they'll be able to judge how much they're putting into the syringe so that they can get it right. We don't want them to overdose. So these work really well. There are talking blood pressure monitors. There are talking thermometers. And there's also some of the pharmacies are giving these out now. It's a talking medicine bottle holder. Okay, so you would put the bottle, sticks in here, and then there's a little button on here that you push and you record your own voice, or somebody can record the voice. The pharmacist can record the voice of what type of medication it is and what the milligrams are and the directions on when and how to take it. So these are really neat, and some pharmacies are providing these for those folks that have vision loss. So these work really, really well. All right. Now, we're going to talk a little bit now about how to communicate with folks who have vision loss. Say you want to write a note or a letter, how would you do that? Well, you want to use an 18-point print, okay? So adjust your font if you're going to print out something for them, and use an 18-point print. That is pretty much a universal print size for folks who are visually impaired, legally blind, and it helps with them, especially if they need to use the magnifier to read it, but an 18-point works well. We talked about the 20/20 Sharpie. Another important thing is announce yourself. Don't assume that they can see who you are. I have a lot of seniors that tell me that a lot of their friends don't speak to them because they think they're ignoring them when they address them in the hallway, because they don't know who they are. They can't see their face. So announce yourself. Hi, John, it's Dave, how you doing? And that helps a lot. Always ask before assisting. That's a big thing. A lot of folks, they think they're doing a nice thing. They see a blind person, a visually impaired person at a corner, and they want to come up and grab them and help them cross the street. Okay, in those type of situations, you have to ask. Ask before you do that. Never touch first, never grab, ask. Can I help you? Because what happens is folks who are blind or traveling the community, they count their steps. They have everything down pat on how many steps it takes to go here, where the corners are. They are fine-tuned to listening to the traffic. And when you come in and grab them or try to help them across the street without asking first, that really, really interferes with that count. And so just ask. Same thing with a guide dog. We don't want to walk up and start petting a guide dog. It's really important that a guide dog is working. The guide dog it knows what it needs to do. I'm not saying that you can't, but always ask the owner first if it's okay before you do that. That's just courtesy. Any questions anybody has out there for vision loss so far? I know I'm throwing a lot of information at you, but I got to get to hearing loss. If anybody has any questions, you can just click on that chat button and type it in, and I'll keep going, but I'll be watching that, and Kimberly, she'll be monitoring that as well. So let's talk about the types of hearing loss. There's 3 real types of hearing loss. I'm not going to really get into the scientific, information about it, but I'm going to tell you real quick what each one is and how you would know what type of hearing loss you would have if you have hearing loss. And the first one is a sensory neural hearing loss. And that's a loss in the inner ear where the cochlea is. That type of hearing loss can be caused by a number of things. It's permanent, and medicine and surgery really can't fix sensory neural hearing loss. And what happens is when you damage the hairs in your cochlea, the cochlea is that little snail-like organ inside your ear, and inside there's a fluid, and there's all these little tiny hairs floating in that fluid, and they're all lined up like little soldiers in a row. And what happens is when you hear a sound, that sound goes into your ear, into your inner ear, into your cochlea, and it jumps from the top of each soldier's head all the way down the line until it hits the auditory nerve, which tells the brain, hey, that was a dog barking, or hey, that was a car backfiring. So if you're exposed to loud noises repeatedly, or if you have a history of haunting, things like that, you can damage those hairs. And when those hairs, if one or two of them or more of them die, they fall over into the fluid in the cochlea. So now, when you hear a sound, certain syllables that you used to hear when they were all lined up, when some of those die, that sound can't jump over to the next, piece of cilia to carry the sound. So you lose the ability to understand those sounds. Okay, so that's called the clarity loss. So with a clarity loss, for example, you might say, Mom, do you want to go to the mall? And Mom will say, walk down the hall. I mean, something like that, because it's very hard. S's and F's and things like that are very difficult when you have sensory neural hearing loss. And unfortunately, you will not regain that hearing. Once that hearing's gone and those little hairs in the cochlea die, they cannot be regenerated. So it's really, really very important that they wear some sort of hearing protection if you're going to be exposed to loud noises. You don't want to do any more damage. Hearing aids will help with sensory neural hearing loss. They can help, and it might be something to look into. You definitely want to get a hearing test, an audiogram done by a local audiologist. Excuse me. And they will tell you if you're a candidate for hearing aids and if those hearing aids will work for you. The second type of hearing loss is a conductive hearing loss. Okay, and with a conductive hearing loss, it's a little bit different. That's more of, instead of the inner ear, more the middle and outer ear type damage. And in that situation, that can be caused by a number of things that can really, really affect that hearing loss. Fluid in the middle ear can cause that. Ear infections, if you have a history of otitis media, it's called, and that is ear infections, that can cause issues with a conductive hearing loss. If you have a hole in your eardrum, that's another thing that can cause conductive hearing loss. Benign tumors. Cerumen is what we call earwax. Is it really wax? No, it's sweat and dirt that gets into our ears and it congeals, kind of like a wax, so that's why we call it earwax. Many times, if that wax is removed from by your primary care doctor or an ear, nose, and throat doctor, you'll see a big improvement with your hearing, and you may not even need a hearing aid once that's done. They will not give you a hearing aid once they look inside your ear if there is any type of impacted wax or cerumen. So you'll have to get that removed first. Swimmer's ear. Swimmer's ear is another thing. That's an infection in the ear canal, and that can cause a conductive hearing loss. And yes, hearing aids can help with a conductive hearing loss. The only time that you really aren't going to get much of a benefit with hearing aids is if you have some type of, there's tinnitus, which is a ringing in the ears. It'll give you a little relief, but because it'll take your mind off that constant ringing in the ears, which is what tinnitus or tinnitus is called. Some folks still hear trains going by their home, and the trains haven't run for years. I had a client that was in a band years ago, and she still hears music. So and she hasn't been in a band in years. Or just a constant humming. There's no cure for that. A hearing aid will help a little with that because it'll mask the sound. You'll hear other sounds, but they're definitely, it's not a cure. A hearing aid is not a cure. Hearing aid will be very difficult to use in a large group or in a restaurant or at church or wherever you go, where there's a lot of people with a lot of background noise. I tell my seniors that are interested, hey, I think I need a hearing aid. I can't hear in a restaurant. Well, odds are, even with the hearing aid, you're not going to be able to understand what the person across from you is saying, because a hearing aid amplifies all sounds. okay, not just the voice across from you. I know that, there's all kinds of bells and whistles that they're coming out with now with directional hearing aids and this and that, but I haven't met anyone that's been able to cancel out all the background noise when they're in a large group or had a hearing aid that could do that. So that's important to know with hearing aids. And we all know with hearing loss that, people struggle with the telephone, and there's different options for the telephone. The first one, which works really, really well, is called the Clear Sounds Amplified Telephone. Okay, this is what it looks like. It runs about $75. This works excellent for folks with moderate to severe hearing loss on the phone. And basically, you have two toggle switches that you slide back and forth here, one for volume, one for tone. While the person is on the phone, they can make the caller's voice louder as they're speaking by sliding that. And then if it's a woman's voice and they don't hear woman's voice as well, they can make the voice deeper by sliding the rule, or make a man's voice softer while they're talking so they can understand what's being said. It has a nice speakerphone on it. It flashes red when it's ringing. It runs it for $75, no extra charge to use it. You just plug it in and you're ready to go. Folks say to me, well, I want a portable phone. Here's the problem. Portable phones are the worst type of phone for folks with hearing loss. When you use a portable phone, the sound travels through the air. And when that happens, there's all kinds of distortion, and it's going to be very, very difficult for folks who are hard of hearing to use a portable phone, a cordless phone. With this, the sound travels through the phone wires, okay? Much, much more clear. So I do suggest that they get a phone, a landline that's amplified, that's not portable. Now, of course, they all want to keep their portable, so they can have both. I just tell them, all you need to do is go to the store and get yourself a couple dollar wide plug, it's called, where you can plug this little piece into the jack, the phone jack, and you can plug two telephones into one jack. So you can have both. Somebody calls on the portable and they can't understand what's being said. They tell them to hold on, go over, pick up this phone, and hang up the portable, and they're ready to go. This will not help everyone. If the hearing loss is profound, then you might want to look at the CapTel, which is a caption telephone. And many of you have seen the commercials where the grandson tells grandma, I kicked a goal today, and grandma reads it on a screen that comes on the phone, and then would answer with her voice. That is also an option. You used to have high-speed internet to use that type of phone. You do not anymore. And in New York State, you might be eligible for a free captioned telephone. You'd have to go to CapTel New York website and see if you meet the qualifications to get a free CapTel phone. If not, worst case scenario, it runs about $70. And you have 30 days. If you don't want it, you send it back and you get your money back. But in that situation, you would read what's being said on the phone and then responding. And the last option, which is real tough for many of our seniors, is a TTY. It's something where they would type on the telephone and go through a relay service. And in some options, that's what they need to do. That's their only options if they have a profound hearing loss, and if these phones do not help, and we can help them get that type of equipment as well. Then the main thing, there's one thing you see tonight. This is the device. This is called a Pocket Talker Ultra, okay? A lot of our folks, and I'm sure you'll run into folks, they do not want to spend a couple $1,000s on a hearing aid. You know, they're up in life, they're at this 80s, 90s. They don't want to spend that much money on a hearing aid. So this is a fix. Most of the time, the problem is they have their TV up too loud, and everybody tells them, you got to turn it down. It's driving me nuts. Folks in buildings, the congregate buildings with lots of apartments, I get phone calls all the time. They're going to evict me. My television is too loud. I don't know what to do. Well, this is the answer. This little device is $175. It runs on 2 AAA batteries. It comes with headphones, and it also comes with 1 earbud, so you can use either, okay? And it's much stronger than a hearing aid. They put the headphones on or the earbud in, they turn it on, Now it has a volume level that goes up to 10, which is really, really loud. You'll never use it. Nobody will use it past 4. But with this, they can put it on the arm of the chair, put their headphones on, turn it up as loud as they want in the headphones, but still keep the volume in the room low. So it's a huge benefit. Rather than get the hearing aid, if they're still in denial or if they're not ready, this is something they can take with them to the doctors. So when the doctor comes in and gives them that 5 or 10 minutes of time, they can hear everything that's being said if they have company over. If you're tired of having to yell every time you visit a hard of hearing senior, this works great. The hospitals use these, hospice uses these, social workers take these with them, and it works really well. You can get this either at Aurora or you can get it at that hearmore.com. It's called the Pocket Talker Ultra. Okay. Now, the last thing, as far as there's other items. There's a strobe doorbell, wireless. You don't need an electrician. There's a strobe smoke detector for folks who have hearing loss. All those things are available through the catalog, or the doorbells available through us that can help folks with hearing loss. But I see we're getting up there in time, so I want to tell you about our hearing aid program in Aurora. If we have a low-income senior, if you have a low-income senior that you know needs a hearing aid and that has been going without, they have 2 options. First, if they have Medicaid, Medicaid does provide 1 free hearing aid every 5 years. So if they have Medicaid, they're already entitled to a free hearing aid. If they have Medicare and Medicaid, they are entitled to 1 free hearing aid every 5 years. Okay, and there is unfortunately nobody in Syracuse that fits that hearing aid, but they can get fit either in Faxton St. Luke's Hospital in Utica, or they can get fit at the Francisca Racker Center in Ithaca. Those are the 2 places. And Medicaid Cab will take them and bring them home. So they do have transportation to those appointments. Now, if they lose that hearing aid after 3 years or 4 years, you cannot get another one until the whole 5 years is up. So I tell folks to be extremely careful with the hearing aid that they get. Medicare. Straight Medicare pays nothing towards hearing aids at this point in time. Now, there is talk that in the infrastructure bill that was just signed, that Medicare is going to be expanded. And I believe that the hearing aid benefit for that is still in there. Haven't heard much about it, but I'm hoping it is to help. It will cover hearing aids for seniors who otherwise would go without. Many of the Advantage plans, Medicare Advantage plans, do have some coverage for hearing aids that will help. United Healthcare and a few others that will give you a little money towards hearing aids if you go to one of their approved vendors. So that is an option. But our program for those seniors that are on Medicare and that aren't entitled to a free hearing aid can fill out a 1-page application. And if they are approved, and the approval process is fairly simple. Basically, we just look at what they have coming in per month, their Social Security and their pension, and then they write down what their bills are per month. So after they pay all their bills per month, if they live alone, if they have $600 or less left over, okay, which many of our seniors don't, they are eligible for a grant-funded hearing aid. This is for seniors in Onondaga County or seniors in the city of Auburn. There's money out there that will cover their hearing aid, and they would only be responsible for $60, and they will get a brand new digital hearing aid, just one. We can only do one, but 90% of the seniors do fine with 1 hearing aid through our doctor here in Syracuse. All it takes is an application, 1-page application process. I don't go into your financials. You just need to fill it out, and then it goes in front of a committee, and we go from there. Now, excuse me, if they don't qualify, if they have a little bit too much money, if they have more than 600 left over, they're still eligible. But in that situation, they would have to be a self-pay. This is a $1,600 hearing aid, and they would get it for half price. They would pay $860 for that brand new hearing aid with a 2-year full warranty and all that. If you go out on your own and you're going to buy a hearing aid, please understand there's 2 types of people that dispense hearing aids. One are called dispensers, okay? They did not go to medical school. They hang a shingle to sell hearing aids. And the other one is an audiologist. They went to medical school, medically trained. We strongly suggest that you go to an audiologist. And if you're not sure who to go to or an audiologist in the area, please feel free to call and we give you a few names. But we do that because in New York State, if you purchase a hearing aid, you have 45 days to return it. And the person that you got it from has to return 90% of your money. They keep 10% for a restocking fee. So it's important for you to realize that, and a lot of times on day 46, when your warranty is up and you can no longer get your 90% back, then the hearing aid's yours. You really don't have a lot of recourse with the provider, with the dispenser. They're not all bad, don't get me wrong. There's some good ones, but we just strongly suggest that you go to a medically trained audiologist. And we do suggest if you're going to get a hearing aid, you go with a behind the ear hearing aid rather than the shell that goes in the ear. And there's two reasons why. The behind the ear hearing aids that rest on the back of your ear are much smaller now. Okay, they're hardly even noticeable, and they can be turned up. Everything's digital now. When our TVs went digital, our hearing aids went digital. So the sound is much more crisp now. And those behind the ears can be turned up louder as your hearing gets worse, because unfortunately, it only gets worse. Okay, and that can be turned up. The shell ones that go in the ear, those can be only turned up so high because in order to make them small enough to fit in your ear, they had to take out some components. And of course, one of those was that volume control. So they only go up so high, the volume. Also, if you know anybody with hearing aids who's had them for a while, the shell ones in the ear, the little brown plastic ones, after a few years, gravity pulls everything down on our bodies, including our ears. And those hearing aids that they may have gotten 4 or 5 years ago were nice and tight when they first got them. But because of gravity, now they're loose, okay? And they squeal. So if you hear somebody's hearing aid squealing in the room, that's because it doesn't fit tight anymore. And the only thing they can do is keep pushing that hearing aid in order to stop the squealing, or purchase new hearing aids. Okay, that will not happen with the behind the ear type hearing aid. And if a person gets a hearing aid, realize that it does not sound like normal hearing. Don't expect to hear like you did years ago right away. What happens is when you put that hearing aid in, there's an echo. Okay, you're going to hear that echo, and you're going to hear your feet on the floor, on the rug. You're going to hear water dripping. You're going to hear the motor on your refrigerator kick on. Sounds that you may not have heard for years. So what happens? Some seniors, it's too much. It's just sensory overload. So where does the hearing aid end up? In the dresser drawer. Okay, and the problem is, and I hear this all the time, my friend has a hearing aid, but it's in her drawer. She won't even wear it. It doesn't help. It drives her crazy. That's because she didn't wear it for 30 days straight. If you wear the hearing aid from the minute you wake up to take it out when you go to bed, after 30 days, the brain will accept that new sound as normal. And it'll be normal for you. You won't even notice an echo anymore. And you won't want to go without the hearing aid. That can be make a huge difference for not only you, but for family members. You know, it's very frustrating, and I'm sure they tell the hard of hearing person all the time, they get frustrated with having to repeat themselves. And this would be a huge help. So those are the purchasing tips. If you have questions about getting a hearing aid, please call. I'd be happy to give you some advice on what to do, what not to do, what to beware of. Do not let anyone come into your home to give you a hearing test. Okay, you'll be getting calls, or you'll get letters, or you'll see commercials where they will come to your home and they will give you a hearing test. Well, it's really not a hearing test unless they've got a soundproof booth with them. So what you're really getting, and if you read the small print, is an amplification test. And it's not as accurate, and you definitely want to go to an audiologist in a soundproof booth and get an accurate reading, because that's how the hearing aids are set. They're set on a computer by way of the audiogram results. Okay, that's how those are set. So People ask me, my great aunt passed away and she left me her hearing aid. Can I use it? Big question. Well, here is the, and Mary Jane, I just saw your question, and yes, we do have those here in Aurora. But now I just lost my train of thought. It's, you know, we were just talking about the hearing aid information, but, you know, just call, we can give you that advice. We can tell you where to go and what will help and what won't, but do not let them come to your home and do that and do a test. Go to see an audiologist, get the computerized audiogram done, and then decide on a hearing aid. You know, do you have to get a hearing aid that costs $2,000-3,000? No, you don't. Do you need a hearing aid with all kinds of bells and whistles? No, you don't. Okay, you just want something that's basic and that's going to make you hear better. And that's the key when you're out there shopping for a hearing aid. Or, you know, get a pocket talker if they're not ready, because usually it's an 8-year time limit that people, from the minute that people tell them, hey, you're losing your hearing, it's about 8 years on average of denial before they finally accept the fact that they need a hearing aid. Any other questions? There was also, I'm sorry, real quick, a free program called Gift of Sight. If you need glasses, if you need new glasses, if your glasses are broken and you have no insurance to cover it, okay, or you have no financial ability, family members, friends that can cover it, then we do have a program that we can help you get a free pair of glasses through Lens Crafters, and we'd be happy to do that. Any other questions?
I'm coming back on.
Okay.
David, if we do, and Mary Jane, thanks for asking that question, because I want one too. I don't have severe sight issues, but I cannot thread a needle anymore. I mean, I really always had problems with it, but I'm definitely getting one of those. So I had a couple of other questions also, but Mary Ann also asked, do you help people with hearing aids to get work, or do you recommend that they tell their employers if they're hearing impaired? Now, Mary Ann is saying that she has 2 hearing aids, worked from home for 7 years, and was told just before the pandemic that she had to go into the office, and she can't work in an office full of people. So she was forced to retire, but can't live on Social Security. And also she says, here's another interesting point, David, is that she said that the over the ear hearing aids fly off when you take off your mask. And she found 2 hearing aids in the road. I haven't found any, but
yeah.
Is that?
He's right. It happens all the time with masks, unfortunately. You know, it's really a struggle. I mean, reading lips is a struggle. We didn't cover that, but with COVID, hard of hearing people really suffer because they're reading lips, whether they didn't take a class, it's just a natural coping skill. And when they take the mask off, it can pull off the hearing aids. You just have to be really conscious when you're putting on a mask and taking it off, especially if you have glasses as well, about making sure that hearing aid is still there. You know, the hearing aid warranties, only the first year only covers loss. So if they lose it after the first year, then unfortunately, they would have to pay for replacement.
So are there any programs at Aurora or that you know of that would help an individual with hearing loss find employment?
Oh, absolutely. There are a number of agencies out there that have supported employment. We actually do work with deaf, hard of hearing, and blind folks that are looking for work through a support employment program with a coach and all that, which would help them. And there are other agencies out there. There is an agency called Access VR, which is a state funded agency, which would help folks also as well. There is Arise, which also has supported employment. So please feel free to call me and we can talk about those options, about who could help and help her find work.
Oh, that is really wonderful. I honestly had never really thought about that, but thanks for asking that question. Really excellent. And she says, really, really suffer when you can't hear people with a mask and plastic shield like Wegmans. Oh, I hear you. I was telling David earlier that even my boss, she reads lips a lot, so it's very difficult with masks on to communicate, you know? This has got to be a big problem.
There are masks with a see-through mouth that you can get out there.
Oh,
Oh, yes, they do have masks that are clear around the mouth.
wow.
And we can tell if someone calls, we can find out and let you know where you can buy those. They're a little more expensive than the normal mask, but our deaf services department does wear those type of masks when they're out in the community. Yep.
Wow. I can't tell you, I've learned so much in this last hour, David. I want everybody in the community to attend this class next time we give it, because wherever you are, you know, this might happen, or it may happen to your loved one. This is really valuable information, even for someone's toolkit down the line. But I had a question about macular degeneration. Is it possible to get it in just one eye, or does that happen in both at the same time usually?
Usually it does happen in both. It doesn't mean it has to be at the same point in both. You could have obviously many times you could have more advanced macular in one eye than the other. You could have one dry and one wet eye. So those situations can happen. But if you have macular degeneration, usually it's in both eyes.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
And the thing that you mentioned that we can have is a glaucoma and not know it and not have symptoms and wake up blind. So that's a really frightening thought.
Really
it's a frightening reality. It's frightening. So is there a recommendation that folks at a certain age go to an ophthalmologist to be checked out? You know, sort of like women get mammograms at a certain age, and because if you're not having symptoms, how would you know? That's frightening.
Well, usually it is genetic. So either mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, it's in the family with glaucoma most of the time. So, you know, find out,
Okay.
you know, ask your relatives, is this in our family? Does anybody have it? If you do, I would be checked out at least once a year. You know, I say, you know, start at 40, but, you know, most of the time they say 50. But, you know, you should definitely get it checked at least once a year. With glaucoma, sooner they get you treated with the drops and get that pressure down, the better.
Okay.
But I know that there are medical conditions that can cause it as well, even if you don't have it in the family.
Yeah, a friend of mine has diabetes, and she's experiencing it. Her doctor told her it was related, but you know, you never know. And one other thing, I wanted you to go over again real quick. You know that little medicine bottle that talks to you?
Yes.
Explain, what exactly does that do? That to me is miraculous for people.
It really is. And that's why some of the pharmacies, I don't mark me down for this, but I believe it's Wegmans is using these now, where you can ask the pharmacist for a talking prescription bottle holder. And they have different sizes because not every prescription bottle is small.
Right.
And basically, the pharmacist will record what the medication is and what how often to take it by pushing a little button. And you can tape over it so it can be used over and over again. But then you set the bottle in, set it in your medicine cabinet. If you can't read what it is, you push the button. When you have an eye condition, especially macular, it does affect your ability to distinguish colors. Blues and greens look alike. So if you're taking pills, I mean, it's really important that you either use a magnifier to sort your pills or get yourself a pill bottle talking holder.
Wow. Okay. I just think that's miraculous. So such good information, David. I'm just overwhelmed, and really, really, really appreciate you taking the time. I hope that we can do this again and again, and reach the people that really need it. So many of the caregivers that I work with have loved ones, or even themselves, who are struggling with hearing or sight issues. So I'm sure you may be getting more referrals in the future. So, and I will send out with a follow-up email to everyone, you know, David's contact information and the information on both of the websites that David mentioned, so we can anybody can get their free catalogs for that and take a look at it. But most of the stuff that you talked about, most of the items, are they available at Aurora?
They are. The only
Okay.
rule is if it's a magnifier, they most likely have to see me, because you really don't want to dispense a magnifier that's too strong, because it could damage their eyes. So it's
Oh, okay.
important. Anything else they can call and I
Oh.
can have it ready. But magnifiers, it's important that I sit with them and do a quick evaluation.
Oh, wow. Okay. That's good to know too. Okay. Well, I can't thank you enough. I don't see any other questions, and I don't see anyone with the hand raised. And so, no, I do not. So I want to make sure everybody has the opportunity to ask questions if they want. I'm sure everybody found it very, very valuable. I know I certainly did. And thank you so much. Senna, thank you so much as well, our ASL interpreter. And we'll see you. I know, I'm going to make sure I said that right. And we're going to see you again in the spring, David, for sure.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Happy holidays.
All right. Thank you. Happy holidays, everyone.
Thank
Good
you, Zena.
night.
Good night now.